Chapter 5. More than just good intentions. It started the next morning. Jade was still curled under her duvet, the faint light of early morning creeping between the slats of her blinds. Her phone buzzed softly on the nightstand, one buzz, then another. She groaned and rolled over, grabbing it with one hand and shielding her eyes with the other. She always woke up early, a habit trained into her by years of 8 a.m. meetings and back-to-back showings. But she liked to steal these first few minutes. No alarms, no calls, just silence, stillness, and the warmth of her comforter before the world barged in. She unlocked her phone and found a new message. Not a good morning text, not a question, just a reel. A low-res video of a raccoon wearing sunglasses and pretending to DJ with the caption, "Me on my way to your HVAC unit." Jade smirked, lips curving against the pillow. "You're ridiculous." "Ridiculously talented at heat pump repair. It's a niche market," he replied almost immediately. She laughed quietly to herself and finally tossed the covers off, swinging her legs out of bed. The floor was cold. The morning was still. Another message popped in. "Hope your day kicks off better than this raccoon set." Jade blinked at the message for a little bit. It was silly, absurd even, but something about it made her feel considered, like she'd crossed his mind in a quiet, offhand moment, before coffee, before the world started pulling him in a dozen directions, and not as a means to an end. Not someone asking for a markdown on one of her listings. Not someone pretending to inquire about a property just to land a date. Just her. She couldn't remember the last time someone had genuinely told her to have a good day without wanting something in return. It wasn't a grand romantic gesture, but in that moment, it felt like something rare, appealing even. "You too, raccoon whisperer." She shook her head as she sent the message, the faintest trace of a smile tugging at her lips. Then she padded to the bathroom to start her morning routine. She flipped on the light and caught a glimpse of herself in the mirror. Sleep tousled hair, faint creases from the pillow, eyes not quite awake. She reached for her toothbrush and began the rhythm of the familiar, brushing, flossing, and then splashing cold water on her face. She rubbed on her cleanser, careful and deliberate, then rinsed and patted dry with the edge of a towel. For a moment, she paused. Just stood there, looking at herself. Not judging, not critiquing, just observing the stillness of it. And oddly, she didn't feel alone in the silence. That stupid raccoon video still played at the back of her mind. Someone thought of her. Not for a deal. Not to gain anything. Just thought of her. She exhaled, a breath she hadn't realized she had been holding. Then, with a soft nod to her own reflection, she turned to face the day. Coffee, planner, a quick scroll of listings, and now, apparently, a raccoon DJ to set the tone. The rhythm that had first sparked in their casual message thread began to deepen into something steadier. It wasn't sudden. It didn't sweep her off her feet, but it was there, growing in the quiet corners of her days. What started as the occasional meme or check-in slowly became a constant. Daily messages appeared like clockwork, never pushy, never heavy. A meme here, a blurry photo of a crooked thermostat, jokes about his long days, her closings, her coffee rituals. Some mornings, she'd wake up to something already waiting for her, some small slice of his day, served up without expectation. Other days, she found herself checking her phone before bed, half expecting to see his name. It wasn't flirtation in the usual sense, not the kind packed with flattery or sly compliments. No hearts, no winks, just presence, a quiet reliability, like someone had chosen, deliberately, to stay in touch with the small, unremarkable parts of her life. And somehow, that felt bigger than the grand gestures she was used to. It didn't ask for her time, it simply made room for it. One Thursday, Jade was parked in the quiet backlot of a suburban duplex she'd just finished showing. The sun had begun its slow slide west, casting long shadows across the dash of her car. Her lunch, a protein bar and iced coffee, sat untouched in the cup holder as she reviewed notes on her tablet. She had one more showing scheduled that afternoon, but for the moment, she let herself pause. That's when her phone buzzed. It was Cameron. Ever seen the inside of a busted furnace from 1987? It's art. I'm telling you, she replied without thinking. I haven't had the pleasure. You busy? Come see. It's a real Picasso in here. Charred wires, dust, and mystery noises included. Is this your way of wooing me? Because it's disturbingly effective. Don't say I never showed you culture. He jokingly snapped back. She stared at the screen, amused despite herself. 5 seconds of hesitation. Then she typed, "Text me the address." The reply came within seconds, a pin drop and a thumbs up. Jade jotted it down, slid her planner into her bag, and turned the key in the ignition before she could second-guess herself. The engine purred to life, and she backed out of the lot with a strange flutter of anticipation she hadn't felt in a long time. The drive was quiet, her favorite podcast playing low in the background, but her focus drifted. Every few miles, she caught herself wondering what she was doing. Driving across town to look at a furnace. Who did that? And yet, her fingers stayed wrapped around the wheel, her GPS guiding her deeper into neighborhoods she'd never had a reason to visit. The streets grew quieter, lined with aging oaks and older homes, some with fresh paint, others with weathered porches and kids' bikes sprawled across the yard. She passed a row of sprinklers misting a front lawn, the arcs catching sunlight like glass. Slower pace, fewer honks, no one rushing anywhere. She didn't even realize she'd been smiling until a red light caught her reflection in the rearview mirror. She pulled into the neighborhood Cameron had sent her. Modest houses with wide lawns and sun-faded mailboxes. The kind of street where mailboxes leaned a little. Garden gnomes peeked out from flower beds, and wine chimes jingled in the soft breeze. She slowed to a crawl, double-checking the house numbers. When she spotted the old rust-toned pickup with an HVAC logo hand-painted on the side, her stomach fluttered. She parked behind it, engine humming softly, and sat for a beat longer than necessary. Then she grabbed her phone, checked the address again, and stepped out. The air smelled faintly of cut grass and engine oil. A screen door creaked somewhere nearby. Across the driveway, she saw him crouched beside an open metal access panel at the base of the house, A toolbox flanked out beside him. His sleeves were rolled up to his elbows, a smudge of something dark across his forearm, and a flashlight clamped between his teeth as he adjusted a rusted valve. He glanced up, squinting in the sunlight, and pulled the flashlight from his mouth just long enough to grin. Not exactly party attire, but there was something quietly admirable about the way he dove in. Shirt untucked, sweat at his temple, totally unbothered by the grime. He looked like he belonged there, hands in the guts of something no one else wanted to touch. She was overdressed for the occasion, blazer and all, and he was in his element, knees on the pavement, sleeves rolled up, a smudge on his forearm. "You came." "I was promised art," she said, lifting an eyebrow. Jade walked over, the heels of her boots crunching softly on the gravel drive. Without saying much, she knelt beside him, smoothing her blazer to keep it clean. The ground was warmer than she expected, radiating from the unit like tired breath. He scooted over so she could peer inside. Behold, the Sistine Chapel of outdated heat delivery. It was chaos in metal form. Wires fused where they shouldn't be, insulation half melted, the whole thing groaning like it was begging for retirement. Jade wrinkled her nose. "That's terrifying." "It's beautiful," he corrected. "Means someone's been warm in this house for nearly 4 decades. Now it's just time to pass the torch." From inside the house, a voice called out, "Is it fixable?" "Just about," Cameron replied over his shoulder. He turned to Jade. "Come on, I'll show you." They both stood and brushed themselves off. Cameron wiped his hands on a rag and led her around to the front porch, opening the creaky screen door for her. As they stepped inside, the air shifted from the warm, cut grass scent of the yard to the cozy, slightly spiced scent of an old home. Baking, maybe cinnamon. The elderly woman inside was just rounding the corner from the kitchen and paused mid-step, surprised. Her eyes landed on Jade with a flicker of confusion before quickly softening. She was petite, with soft grey curls and a floral apron tied loosely around her waist. "Oh, I didn't realize we had company," she said kindly, adjusting her glasses. "I'm Lorraine, by the way," she added, offering a warm smile. "Everyone on the street knows me as Miss Lorraine." "You must be a friend of Cameron's." Jade smiled, more like a curious observer. The woman laughed and lifted a tray of ginger snaps. "Well, observer or not, everyone gets a cookie." "Sorry the place is a mess," she added as Jade stepped further in. Jade glanced around, noticing the clutter she normally would have judged. Magazines stacked on a side table, a few shoes by the door, knickknacks in every corner. But instead of retreating into critique, she smiled. "It feels lived in. Warm. Reminds me of my aunt's place growing up." The word surprised even her. But somehow, with Cameron nearby, the mess didn't feel messy. It felt real. The woman handed her a ginger snap, and Jade took it with a quiet thank you, its sugar-dusted edges still faintly warm. They moved to the small living room, where Jade perched on the edge of a floral couch, the scent of baked spice lingering in the air. As Cameron disappeared toward the hallway, toolbox in hand, The elderly woman sat beside Jade with a soft groan, patting her knee. "So, how'd you and Cameron meet?" she asked, curiosity warming her tone. Jade smiled, brushing a crumb from her lap. "We actually met at a backyard party. He's not someone I know super well, yet. Just enough to know he's got a decent sense of humor and an even better work ethic." The woman nodded, a fond glint in her eye. "He's a good one, that Cameron. Known him since he was a boy. His grandmother and I used to play bridge every Tuesday," Miss Lorraine said, a glimmer of nostalgia in her tone. "Sweet woman. Always said Cameron had an old soul and calloused hands." She was right. Jade tilted her head, intrigued despite herself. "Not many folks like him left," the woman continued. "He listens. Shows up. Doesn't talk much about himself. But he sees people. Really sees them." Jade nodded, nibbling on the cookie. "Seems like he cares." "Oh, he does. One of the few who still listens when you talk. That's a gift these days." Jade smiled faintly, glancing down the hall where she could hear Cameron explaining something to himself out loud. They talked for a little while longer about the weather, the creaky house, and how long she'd lived there. The woman told Jade how the old furnace had been on its last leg for 2 winters, but she couldn't bring herself to replace it just yet. "It's been with me through 2 husbands and a dog," she joked, the corners of her eyes crinkling with laughter. Jade chuckled softly, listening more than she spoke. There was something comforting in the woman's cadence, the way she spoke like the years had thickened her stories, made them tender and textured. "And this neighborhood," the woman added, "used to be full of kids. Now it's mostly quiet. I like that. But every now and then, it's nice to have a little noise. Cameron brings that good kind." Jade nodded, touched by the sincerity. That's when Cameron's voice carried back into the room. He was patient, methodical. He explained what he was doing as he worked, not to impress, but to reassure. When he finished, the unit hummed to life with a low, clean rumble. The woman gasped. "Oh, bless you. I thought I'd be cold till Easter." Cameron chuckled and wiped his hands. "Not on my watch. You know that." She hugged him. Just like that. Arms around his neck, squeezing like he was her own grandson. Jade watched from where she stood, ginger snap in hand. She couldn't remember the last time someone hugged her like that, without pretense or obligation. No expectation, no angle, just affection, given freely. It settled over her like a quilt she hadn't known she missed. Jade watched, something soft settling in her chest. He wasn't trying to prove anything. He was just showing up. And somewhere between that busted furnace and the way he smiled, just before she bit into the ginger snap while she watched him, Jade felt something shift. As Cameron gathered his tools and the woman followed him toward the door, she reached for her purse. "Let me get you something for your time," she said, pulling out a worn envelope of folded bills. Cameron shook his head gently. "You know I've got you," he said under his breath, his tone kind but firm. It was quiet, so quiet that the woman didn't seem to catch it, already fumbling with the cash. But Jade noticed. She watched as Cameron subtly redirected her with a question about her thermostat, giving her hand something else to do. Jade didn't say anything, just tucked the moment away. She didn't even know where emotional availability fell on her checklist, but Cameron had it in spades. The woman turned to Jade with a smile. "You take care now, dear. It was nice chatting with you." Jade nodded. "You too. And thank you for the cookie." They stepped out onto the porch, the afternoon sun draping everything in soft gold. Cameron held the screen door open for Jade again, and as it creaked closed behind them, she glanced back one last time at the little house with the humming heater and the woman waving from the threshold. A hairline crack in the wall she had built so carefully appeared. Not a collapse, just a crack, but it was enough to let the warmth in